Now, hello members, let's bring ourselves up to date here with what's going on. Friday we had the options expiration quad witching, big spike up. Indexes did finish at another high. They still haven't put any kind of reversal in position yet. So we keep going higher each day. And with us having this short in the SPXU, that's a problem. Now, if I were to go back and look at this and say, what are the targets and things like that? Well, most of the targets at this point, it's already overrun them, and you can do these ABCD structures all the way up. It's done every one of them, right? It just has this last one now that could go a little bit farther, or actually the next to the last one, which is a little bit farther up. If we take this last one that just printed, that one's just pretty much done as well. Both of them point to about 2060 or so on this particular chart. If I go over and bring over the weekly chart and take a look at that one, right? You got this swing point high, 2072, let's see what the number is, 2072.40. So 2072.40 on the weekly, and I'm looking at the top of the swing point low as the retest regen. And you can see that's a little bit higher than these. So, if this wants to push that far, I guess it can. There's nothing so far to say it's not going to. And so those trades that I have on that are short the indexes, if we continue to go up and do not get any kind of failure immediately here, we're going to have to do something with them. We're not going to be able to just sit here and watch it. If nothing, right, we'll cut the exposure. We still need some sort of a reversal signal. Haven't got it. Making that trade off the Fed turned out not to work for us. Certainly hasn't worked so far. Are we extended? Yeah. Can we continue? Yeah. I mean, you always can. That's the problem with trying to short unless you get a reversal. And we didn't get it. And I did pull the short trigger, and that's turning out to cost us. Let's look at the others. So the ideal there is that we're going to have to do something with it if we don't get some sort of a pullback here pretty soon. If we look at the other shares that we have on in the portfolio, KMI is oil pipelines. Oil itself looks to me like it's probably the most likely place that we're going to see a disappointment, get a pullback if it happens. And so we're going to have to watch that particular market. This did go up on Friday and almost get to that swing point high. The high there is 1932. It got as high as 1920. The volume was about 29, and you did about 32 over there. So, not as much volume as you had at the top. Also, it didn't spend its way higher. Or in other words, it did come back. So it looks to me like we can try and test up there again. We had already taken partial profits here, so I think this is one of those shares, one of those stocks where we should just wait. There's no reason to make a trade on it right here. We took our profits on MMP already, so we don't need to get rid of the last one that we have here. What to do next? I've talked about several things. One is the gold stocks. Here's gold. Gold did go up, test that 121 level again. This swing point high failed again and is coming back down. This is just doing a big range trade, and it's a very bullish scenario, and that is that all of this work that's taking place here is taking place in this higher range. And so the big move that took place to get us here, right, where we did the kind of a decent angle and then shot straight up, it's being worked off. If you continue and draw this out now you're back to a more decent angle. If you went to a 45-degree angle, you'd be into here in a little bit more time. This is getting close to wanting to probably try and take off again. The thing that happens a lot of times is they try to shake you out at the end, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of a push down into this area that's going to be a good buy if and when it happens. That's gold itself. Gold stocks, same scenario there. So if I look at the GDX, you actually have the same sort of thing where you're working off a big move in terms of price, and you're doing it with respect to time. So you had this vertical move as part of that gold move, but rather than this thing even settle in a sideways, this has continued on. So again, if you take the angle and you look at the angle of ascent, still pretty steep. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if gold gets hit for this to come back into this area, maybe even come back into this bar right here, right? That would bring us into this area. Again, those are places to buy in some place that we have to keep looking here on the GDX. On the DBA, if we look at DBA, I'd mentioned this as a potential place to do some work. Same sort of thing here, big vertical spike. This is going to come in some. That's what we were watching for. Where can it come into? The big bars are here. That's all the way down into this area. That would be a retest regen off of here. And so when you look at it from that perspective, right, you could get a move back to here without a lot of problem. That's into the 2070 area. If I bring over the weekly chart, you can see the kind of bottoming process that's taking place. When it happens this way, that typically, you get some sort of a move up, right, and then it comes back down some. And so when you look at it from that perspective, right, you're going to want to try to find a spot where you don't put on too much risk too early. It's over the swing point high this week. That means it's a bullish retest, regenerate. It's also in the context of this larger bearish retest, regenerate. The top there was 2109. We close it at 2109. So you're right at that bar, pushing it with volume. That's a good sign. Can we get a retrace? Yes. Into the swing point high? Yes. Could it get to the bottom of it? Also yes. That number is 2049 if it wants to get that deep. So you can see what we're playing with here. Anywhere from about 2050, which is this swing point high on the weekly, and then the daily is 2060. So this little zone in here is kind of like the ideal spot to pick it up if it wants to come back, with the bottom of that being the full retest regen on the weekly and the top here being it on the daily. So that's the area that we should be watching and should be looking at this week to see if there's an opportunity there. We know the dollar has been weakened, is probably going to stay weak. That's going to continue to help commodities across the board, whether we're talking about gold, whether we're talking about the DBA, whether we're talking about just general mining in general, like the iron ore with the Rio Tinto, so forth, right? They're all being helped by the dollar. Therefore, they're all decent trades here at this particular time. All you need is some sort of a pullback that probably has no volume associated with it. Fear, people forced to get out, or people scared out, so to speak, giving you a better opportunity to get a good foothold somewhere and raise the ante in terms of the size of the order. So let's see if those set up. As part of that, we'll see if we get a pullback in that equity space where we're trying to short. And if not, we're going to have to take it off and keep playing those things that are working and simply wait again. Okay, that's it. That's where we're at. I'll see you next time.